What's up, everybody? It's the Welcome to the Show podcast brought to you by Audible. Go to audibletrial.com/welcome to the show to get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial. That's audibletrial.com/welcome to the show. The Welcome to the Show podcast is also independently produced by me and CT. You can help people find our show by taking 2 minutes to leave a 5-star review and a rating wherever you listen to podcasts. CT, what's good?
What's going on, Manny?
Life's good, man. Things are good.
I must say they're
kind of hot outside.
They're pretty good until you log on to your fantasy account and see Germán Marquez give you negative 27 points in the second inning.
Word. I mean,
it's going to be a hard hole to dig out of.
That's what you get for drafting a starting pitcher in Colorado.
I mean, what could I say, man? I aim for the stars in hopes that I will land somewhere in between.
You got balls, I'll tell you that much. I'm kicking myself in the ass because I drafted Sonny Gray, and he was one of those pitchers he wasn't doing bad for me, but he wasn't really doing much either. Like I was getting maybe 10 points a start, maybe less. And right before the All-Star break, he had like 2 really good starts. The one right before the All-Star game, I think, was a complete game shutout. And he's looking pretty good in Cincinnati. And I kind of wish he was still on the waiver wire. I was going to pick him up, and all of a sudden, one of my opponents picked him up before me. So I'm kicking myself in the ass for that.
You know what? I feel like everyone in the league, and I'm exaggerating because I'm feeling bad for myself now, but a lot of people seem to like give up on a player too early.
Yep.
And found success somewhere else. Like you dropped Sonny Gray, but you picked up Eduardo Escobar, which I dropped, and he's been a monster. Somebody traded Charlie Blackmon for
oh my God,
I don't even know the scrub's name that he traded him. Will Myers.
Yeah, Will Myers.
Traded Charlie Blackmon. He's probably been like the best hitter in baseball since he traded him away and ended up picking Josh Bell, who was on the waiver wire. So I don't know. I feel like I haven't found that pickup. I thought Jake Arrieta could be that, but he's dealing with a bone spur. I don't know how the hell he pitched yesterday, but he got through 5 innings, and he might have taken steroids way back when in the Cubs. That's what I'm thinking.
I mean, he sucked with the Orioles. He became an ace with the Cubs, and he's been okay with the Phillies, but he's not that good. He's not who he was with the Cubs.
He's old, to be honest. But then again, Verlander's old. And Scherzer's old, you know?
So in the past, the trades that I've made have come back to bite me in the ass, and this year, some of the trades that I've made have helped. So I got Josh Donaldson and Marcus Stroman for Jose Ramirez. Josh Donaldson has averaged like 5 points a game over the last month. I picked up Escobar, like you said, from the waiver wire. Somebody dropped Dansby Swanson. I picked him up. He's been a beast for me over the last month. I got DJ LeMahieu for, you ready for it? John Gant. I didn't even offer that. It was offered to me. He's been a monster. And in my pitching side, I haven't had, except for Fultonevich, my pitchers haven't really hurt me. They've been pretty good. Even Noah Syndergaard, his bad starts, and I don't typically get negative points from him. I don't think I've ever gotten negative points. And I have relief pitchers that, my strategy this year was, if I'm going to carry a relief pitcher, he has to be a closer. Because even if he sucks, if he gets that save, that's 5 points that I'm going to get. So it's hard for a closer to get negative points. And my closers have been good. I have Hansel Robles.
Oh,
yep. I have Taylor Rogers. Hansel's been really good for me, and I have Aroldis Chapman, and they've been decent. And by the way, one pickup who, if any fantasy leagues out there, if this player happens to be on the waiver wires, he shouldn't be. But if you see Julio Urias available, pick him up, because this guy is a fucking monster, and he gives me a solid 10 plus points in relief every time he goes out there. So that was a good pickup too.
I think we spoke about him before. Why is it that guys are giving up so easily in the majors? It's almost like they're okay with just like getting rid of them in the bullpen.
Yeah, I don't think the Dodgers are giving up on him. I think he came up as a stud starter. Didn't he hurt his elbow or something? I know he was out for a while.
He was out for like a year and a half, yeah. But
Yeah.
the scouting report on him before he came up was more like he was like pitching in the Mexican League when he was 16. No, you
Yeah,
never
he
seen a
was supposed to
phenom
be.
like this.
Yeah, he was supposed to be the next phenom, and I think next year I bet he becomes a starter again because he's still really good and he's still really young too.
And you got to give it up to like I don't think I don't know, man. We're not from LA. We're from this side of the country, so maybe we don't hear it. But I feel like LA doesn't get enough credit for their talent. I don't know how
Oh
they
my
got
god.
these. I don't know how they got these players, but Cody Bellinger, Walker Buehler,
Yep.
Urias, if he panned out to be what he was gonna be, Corey Seager. You
Yep.
know, I don't know, man. Maybe the Dodgers are just unlucky when it comes to the World Series, but on every other aspect of the game, they're one of the best franchises I think I've ever seen in my
Yeah.
lifetime. You know.
And we talk about the Yankee depth. I think the Dodgers have good depth too. Like that. Like you said, Urias is a reliever. He shouldn't be a reliever. And any other team, he's a starting pitcher.
Yeah.
So
The Red Sox
props.
could sure use him.
Word. Yes.
Red Sox. Update on the Red Sox real quick. Playing Toronto today. Benintendi comes through with the bases loaded with a single. 1 run scores. Chavis is up with the bases loaded.
Okay. Speaking of the Red Sox, how do you feel about that trade, the Andrew Cashner trade?
I thought it was kind of random, but I haven't really looked into it. I was kind of pissed off that they lost that game yesterday, and I didn't really bother like looking into what Cashner has done this season.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't imagine that's been anything spectacular.
He's
wouldn't
been
have been able to. He's been decent, but I can't imagine that. And the fact that he, was on the Orioles, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you pitch for the Orioles and do decent, you got to think that you're better than what your numbers say, because Camden Yards, I think, leads the league in home runs given up.
Oh my god, yeah.
So,
Definitely.
and that's with like the Coors Field in the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Even though Coors Field, man, it's more than just home runs. Like every time I see one of their games, it's doubles, triples. Like it's more than just home runs.
Yeah, maybe it's just the field altogether.
But I haven't really looked at Cashner's numbers to know what that's gonna do for us. But I mean,
I think this is all to put Eovaldi in the bullpen. I think that's what this move is all about.
Yeah, and I'm good with that, to be honest, man.
Yeah.
Even though we're paying him a lot more than what you would like to pay a relief pitcher, but we need it, man. Any way that we can get wins right now is I'm good with it. Fuck it, we're already paying these guys a lot,
Yep. Truth. I mean, I think this demonstrates that Dave Dombrowski fucked up in the offseason, because, how do you not try to fix your bullpen? It was an issue last year. Why not try to fix it? I don't know.
I just want to give you a quick update. Michael Chavis with a grand slam, man, and the Red Sox are back, baby.
We're back. Okay.
Watch out for the Red Sox. All I'm saying.
Okay.
I mean, what could Dombrowski really have done in the offseason, though?
There were so many relief pitchers he could have signed.
Yeah, but I mean, I think Eovaldi earned his.
Okay, how about Steve Pearce? Why did Steve Pearce get an extension?
I mean, he was the World Series MVP. I don't know.
So what, man? So what?
I mean, you're right. But the same question we're asking why Steve Pearce got the extension or got the paycheck, whatever. I'm pretty sure there were people asking that same question when we acquired him last year and we had him on the team and he was, platooning with whoever, Mitch Moreland or whatever it was. And look what it ended up being. We ended up winning the World Series because of a guy like Steve Pearce. So I can't question.
$6.2 million. I could have gotten you somebody.
Maybe. But we'll get to that later. Guys that we could have gotten and not could have gotten. There's a lot of guys that we could have gotten that ended up being, nothing.
Truth.
David Robertson, still injured.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
That's just one example off the top of my head, putting me on the spot.
Joe Kelly?
What has he done?
Yeah, he hasn't been that great, but I mean, last year, even though he was erratic at times, he was your guy. He was your guy. He was your guy to seal the deal.
In the postseason, he stepped it up. I'm not gonna lie, but I've never thought that. I said it even last year. I'm like, I was never sold on Joe Kelly.
Mm-hmm. He was your innings. He ate a lot of innings, a lot of strikeouts.
I know, man. See. I have hope. We're going to the playoffs, man. That's it. I'm in the conversation on it. All right.
Okay.
We're going to the playoffs.
All right. Let's move on. CT, So I discovered something this past weekend. I discovered that my local team, the Lancaster Barnstormers, are actually an independent league team that belongs to the Atlantic League. And you know what the Atlantic League is known for this year, right, CT?
Yeah, they're like the lab rats when it comes
Pretty,
to Major
yeah.
League Baseball.
That's absolutely right. Anything that baseball wants to try out, they're running it by the Atlantic League first, and in the second half of the season, they decided to start experimenting with the Robo Umps, and they've decided to start experimenting with stealing first base and some other stuff. So I wanted to touch on those two top things because one, somebody stole first base for the first time in history this past weekend. His name is Tony Thomas. He plays for the Southern Maryland Blue Crabs. They were facing off against the Lancaster Barnstormers. And apparently the way the rule works is that if a ball gets past the catcher, the batter can take first base, can try to steal it, but he can be thrown out as well. It's, he can steal first. So basically that's what happened. The ball got past the catcher for the Lancaster Barnstormers, and Tony Thomas took off and made it to first base safely, stealing the first base in baseball history. What do you think about that rule, CT?
When I first heard it, I thought that was the dumbest thing ever, and my first reaction was like this, because first of all, was this something that was spoken about in the offseason? Like, I remember hearing about moving the mound 2 feet back or home plate 2 feet back or something. And we heard about putting a guy on second. This stealing first base, was this something that just came out of the blue, or was it something that was included in that document in the beginning of the year? Do you remember?
It's the first time I ever heard of it when it happened this week.
So my conspiracy theorist, reaction automatically was like everybody was coming down pretty hard on these juiced baseballs, and out of nowhere we have this new rule that they're trying to try out in the Atlantic League. And not only is it a new rule, it's one of the most ridiculous rules I've ever heard ever. Like, we're talking about you want to talk about moving the mound 2 feet back? Those are things that have been done before, right. Lowering whatever. And I just thought it was such a ridiculous rule change that I'm like, this has to be a cover up. This has to be a thing where they're just like, let's get people pissed off. Let's get people to stop talking about the juice baseball, so on and so on. But then I started thinking, like, I remember we interviewed that guy last year on how ground roll doubles used to be considered home runs. You know?
Yeah.
And there was a bunch of other crazy rules. I don't remember all of them off the top of my head, but at some point baseball became what it is with these rule changes. Could we ever get on board with this? My first answer is no, never.
Yeah.
I just don't see. I'm getting annoyed with all these changes that are benefiting offense. Like, it just makes me think that we're just trying to lower the value of starting pitching more and more with all these rule changes, where not only are we going to see less starting pitching, or not just less starting pitching, but the quality of starting pitching is already at an all-time low from what I've seen. Could be because of the juice baseballs, whatever. But I just think it's all a bunch of hurlers. No real pitching is going on. I feel like this is just going to compile. We're going to see less quality starting pitching. Less people are going to want to pitch. I don't know. I don't like it.
I feel like starting pitching is already on the decline. Like the Oakland A's just acquired Homer Bailey, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, yeah, really, Homer Bailey? But I bet you that that has bullpen written all over it too. I bet that he's gonna be like the guy that comes out after the opener or some shit like that. You know what I mean? Like,
well, I mean, they lost that guy. They lost what's his name to the to do the PEDs.
Yeah. I mean, I'm on board with anything that makes the game more exciting and draws more attention to the game. I think that this rule is gonna piss off purists like me and you. We love the game the way it is. We feel like there's nothing wrong with it. But if it brings more people on board, then fuck it, so be it. Like if this adds a level of excitement to the game, although like it's not gonna happen that much because a lot of times the ball gets past the catcher, bounces off the backstop, or it's right next to him or something like that. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. What does bother me about it is how are you gonna readjust the stats now? Because on base percentage is gonna have to be measured a different way. You know what I mean? You're gonna have to add that to it.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I didn't even look into this rule because I hate it, right?
Yeah.
And then I started thinking, like, yeah, but then it's like I said, I started thinking about those rules, like ground rule doubles used to be considered home runs and all this, whatever. Um, but how can this be considered a stolen base
Hmm.
if this were to happen with a guy on first? It's not a stolen base. It's a pass ball. Or it's a wild pitch, whatever. I
Right.
personally think if they're gonna go along with this rule, it should be like an error was made. It shouldn't be that the guy got on base and his on base percentage goes up. It should
Yeah.
be an
Yeah.
error,
Yeah.
you
That's
know.
true.
But I really don't understand. I really don't see the bigger picture on how this makes the game more exciting. If anything, it makes the game like doesn't more offense in the long run, isn't all this offense going to equal to longer games?
That's true. Yep.
And how does this really make the game more exciting? Like, it doesn't excite me if a pitcher throws that one wild pitch in the at bat and the runner goes from 0-2 to going on getting to first without doing
Yeah.
anything.
Right.
I don't understand. Like, that's this. It just seems so stupid to me. But there used to be dumber rules in baseball than that. I don't know.
Yeah. It sounds to me like baseball's looking for they're like looking for more ways to change the game. They're trying to be more experimental, but I don't think that this is ever going to make it to the big leagues. I don't think they'll, like you said, it's like changing the game too much. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
it's a little bit too much, man.
yeah,
I feel like this is like letting a wide receiver, just choosing one wide receiver on your team to get like a 2-second head start
right,
on the off before the ball is hiked. He just kind of gets like that one step forward or something. I don't know.
right. I agree. All right, and then the next thing was the Robo Umps. So today, Scott Miller of Bleacher Report wrote a piece, and he got different player reactions about Robo Umps, how they feel about it, so on and so forth. And there were some mixed feelings. Like CC Sabathia said, if the calls are right and players players will eventually like it. But then Jay Happ said he wouldn't like it. That he doesn't like the idea of it, so on and so forth. And I learned again that my local team, the Lancaster Barnstormers, are experimenting with Robo Umps. That they're one of the teams that Major League Baseball selected to try the Robo Ump thing. There's 8 teams in the Atlantic League that are doing it. And so I did a little more reading on it, and the way it works is the TrackMan system. It's highly calibrated lasers, and it reads the pitch as it crosses the plate, and it readjusts itself depending on the batter. So someone like Aaron Judge is going to have a bigger strike zone because the rule in the strike zone is, I think it's chest to the bottom of your kneecap. And the way it works is when it registers the pitch, the ump wears kind of like AirPods or something, like an earpiece. It'll say to him, strike, ball, or no track. If it's a strike, the umpire's going to call a strike. If it's a ball, the umpire's going to call a ball. If it's a no track, then it's up to the umpire to make their own call. Umpires also have to make the call on check swings. So here's the thing. Last year, according to Major League Baseball and the Umpires Union, umps only missed 3% of calls. That's according to baseball and the Umpires Union. So you have to assume that those numbers are conservative. So Boston University did a study, and they found that there were 34,294 incorrect ball and strike calls made. That comes out to about 14 incorrect calls per game. So how many pitches are thrown in a baseball game by a team? Would you say like 100, 120, 150?
How many pitches are thrown by a team in a baseball game? I'm gonna go like 150.
Okay, so let's say 150. If there's 14 per game that are incorrect, we're talking close to 10% of calls are made incorrect in games, according to Boston University. According to baseball and umpires, it's 3%. So now let's say that TrackMan can't register a call and the umpire calls a ball or a strike or whatever, and we determine that it's incorrect. Like, how much of a difference is this Robo Ump thing is what I'm trying to get at. How much of a difference is it really going to make? You know what I'm saying?
I mean, let me just say that I'm not on board with the Robo Umps. As much as I hate umpires, I'm not on board with it. How much of a difference? I don't think we're gonna notice it that much as a viewer. I kind of don't like that they have Robo Umps and there's still an umpire there making the call.
Yeah.
I feel like if we're gonna go robo umps, make something in the background a light show. It's green if it's a strike, it's red if it's not, vice versa, whatever. Other than that, don't have an umpire there. Don't have like the delayed call of an umpire. And I also think that, well, first of all, let me get back to your question. How much of a difference? I don't think we're going to notice it as a viewer. So that's my answer. Yeah. What do you think?
I mean, I think that according to Boston University, close to 10% of calls are made incorrect. That's a big amount. I think 14 per game is a lot. That's a lot of blown calls, I think, for a game.
We're just talking about balls and strikes, though.
Balls and strikes. That's it. Nothing else. Because that's all the robo ump is going to be able to do, call balls and strikes. But at the same token, by the same token, how we were saying before, how a lot of the rules favor offense, I think that this is going to favor pitching tremendously, because part of the reason why these calls are blown is because every umpire has a different strike zone. Every player is a different size. Like I said before, Aaron Judge has a completely different strike zone than someone like Jose Altuve. But that's part of the game that I enjoy. You know what I mean? Is that you get to it's like a chess match. Like you're watching the game. By the first or second inning, you start to learn what the umpire's strike zone is. You see players doing certain things. You're saying you're yelling at the TV, oh, don't swing at that pitch. He misses every time in the strike zone, so on and so forth. I think this is going to make the game very monotone, but I think it's going to favor pitchers because there's one strike zone. You know what I mean? There's no variance. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there's variance depending on the player's size, but there's no that part of the strategy is completely removed for the pitcher. Now they just have to execute. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think I would be more okay with a robo ump if there was some variance, like some algorithm that made every 1 millionth call, or any close call can go both ways. I think I'd be okay with it, but I think that's just asking for too much. One thing I would be okay with, and before I say that, you're right. Guys like CC Sabathia, they work the corners pretty good. Their arm angles, the way the ball comes in, that's their advantage for some hitters. And I kind of like it when obviously I would hate it if it's against the Red Sox, but I like watching it. Some pitchers pitch a certain way and the umpires see it one way. Not everything is the same in baseball. It's something that I love about baseball. Every batter's up there with a different stance. Pitchers have different arm angles. Different pitches are coming in from all directions. I just think that MLB probably needs to invest more money in training these umpires. And I also don't think we should have 60-year-old umpires in the game anymore. We need to keep whatever age your eyesight starts to decline, that should be the cutoff date for umpires. Get a second job. I don't know. Sorry that you wasted your life.
I agree. I think that rules can be harsh toward players. Like if you I don't know, PEDs, I get it. 80 games, that's fair or whatever. But a player gets punished if he does something wrong. An umpire, it seems like nothing happens. Like they come on after games and they admit that they made the incorrect call, but that's it. It's swept under the rug and you move on to the next day. I think if you're an umpire and you made an egregiously wrong call, or you have this TrackMan system, use the TrackMan system, but not in game to grade umpires. And if they get something like 10% of calls wrong per game, then you have to suspend them or maybe send them down to the minors like you do with players and shit. You know what I'm saying? Something like that seems better to me. Train the umpires, make them better at their jobs, but don't just completely remove them from the equation.
MLB could definitely afford to reinvest some money in their umpires, get them younger, get more training, more experience. Don't ever let them sit out more than a week without watching a game or umpiring a game is what I think. Maybe track their success. If they ever dip below 95% success, then get them out of there. Let them go back to the minors until they build up 100%. I don't know, some crazy shit. You know what what I would be okay with though, to be honest with you, because I've been seeing it get worse and worse every year. I'm okay with there being a robotic way of first at first base, basically just first base. Actually,
that bang play.
I'm glad we're talking about that. Yeah, bang plays. That should be somehow maybe some chip in their cleats, something in the base, lets them know if they're out or safe. They can figure it out. $1 billion corporation, they can figure it out.
Yep.
I think we should get rid of reviewing plays that are stolen base plays. I think we should get rid of reviewing that, because I think it's kind of crazy how like all these years we played the game and guys would slide in safe, but the little second that their arm comes off the base, once they're past it, that can be reviewed. I kind of don't like that. And I would be okay with there being a robotic way of judging check swings. I don't think an umpire should be allowed to judge check swings unless they're always going to go to the first base or third base umpire. I think a home plate umpire should be completely removed from calling check swings, and I'd be okay with that being like computerized or robo or whatever.
I agree with you. And the reason why the check swing bothers me is not even because they get it right or wrong, is that everybody has a different interpretation of it. And if you really slow and like the video down, like if you break it down per image, more often than not, the tip of the bat does cross that invisible wall that comes up from home plate or whatever.
Yeah.
But you're gonna go one way or the other based on who your team is. I'm sure that there's some sort of technology where you can put like those laser systems or whatever, where that wall is there for the laser or whatever, and if the ball crosses the plane of the feet, the whatever, you know what I can't even fucking describe. Don't drink a beer before recording. Then it'll tell you for sure. But yeah, no, I'm with you, and I think that there should be the bang bang play. I never even thought of that, CT, but that's a good idea. Like if you incorporate a visual component for umpires, or maybe there's a sound in his ear or something that when that cleat touches home plate, like you said, a chip system or something, maybe it beeps and he can tell the difference between the beep and the ball hitting the mitt, and it'll make it easier for him to make the call.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. Because
it's annoying when you see a bang bang. It's not even a bang bang. I saw 3 over the weekend where it wasn't bang bang. The umpire got it wrong and they had to review it. It was a waste of a review.
Yeah.
I almost feel like the only things that should be reviewed is like home plate plays, kind of, or maybe like, was it a home run or not, or something like that.
Yeah.
But I'm good if they can review like a successful stolen base to see if the guy's finger came off at the last second or something.
Right.
I don't know.
No, I think they should just bring back the neighborhood play. Back in the day, you didn't even have to touch the bag. You just had to field the ball properly, work, do some footwork around the bag, and they called it an out. Just bring that back and use the excuse of player safety. You know what I'm saying? Like,
what's
why
funny?
not?
It's funny that you bring that up. This is the first time I'm actually, that someone confirms that was actually a rule at one point, because when I was a freshman in high school, that must have been the last time that rule was in place, because my coach at the time when I was a freshman in high school, I already said that. I hated that guy. That guy made me hate baseball. And I had some of the worst, not my freshman year, my sophomore year. And I had one of the worst like baseball seasons ever, right? Because I just hated playing for that team. And he told me about that rule because I was playing second, so I was turning a lot of double plays, whatever. And I remember years later, I tried to do that like in our independent league, and I didn't get the out. And I was like, wait, but I thought like, this is a rule. I just got to be around the bag. And I never really understood the rule, but thanks.
Yep.
You learned. I learned.
People, the neighborhood play was available in baseball and Major League Baseball before replays. It would happen all the time. You didn't have to. I mean, you have to technically. The rule is you have to touch the base and throw to first, but they would let it go, and it was kind of like one of those unspoken things. Nobody complained about it. It was okay if you fielded the ball cleanly. You did some footwork around the bag and you threw it to first. They counted it as a double play.
Wait. This was an unspoken rule. This was like, I'm using pine tar in my hat, but
yeah, right.
Oh,
yeah,
so this wasn't. So see, man, fuck that guy. My coach our high school coach sophomore year. I don't give a shit about unspoken rules. Like, I know the unspoken rules. Don't give me unspoken rules. Like,
I'm not a fan of unspoken rules either, but I feel like rules like that, where the idea is, in my mind, what I'm thinking is that guys were like, I don't want to get fucking killed by this guy running into second base who's going to try to break up the double play. So they allowed the neighborhood play. You know what I'm saying? I'm fine with that. What the kind of unwritten rules I don't like is I just fucking smacked a 500-foot bomb dead center out of the stadium and I can't look at it. I can't admire it. Those kinds of rules I hate. Fucking Travis d'Arnaud, another home run. Are you fucking kidding me?
Travis d'Arnaud, man. The name is escaping me right now, but he's
Jesus Christ.
Man, who is the Daniel Murphy killing the Mets? Travis d'Arnaud killing the Yankees.
Mother of God, man.
Travis.
Anyway.
But yeah, man. Robo Umps. Let calls and strikes be calls and strikes the way they are. Get umpires to be better. Train them better.
Yeah.
Let's figure out the check swing thing. And let's start there. Check swing. Yeah. Let's fix the check swing.
I think that Robo Umps are coming to MLB. That I can definitely see happening for sure.
Oh God.
I don't think stealing first base. I think that's a while away, but I think Robo Umps will definitely happen for sure.
Do you want to talk about Dallas Keuchel and Craig Kimbrel?
Let's do it. What you got to say, man?
We'll spend like a little few minutes on the K brothers.
Okay.
Here's what I got to say. They haven't had the impact on their teams. I think that, Keuchel's doing okay. I would say he's doing pretty good.
Keuchel's doing Keuchel things.
Yeah, Kimbrel's been all right. But I guess the money that they were asking for wasn't worth it. Wouldn't have been worth it, right?
I don't know. I think it's the way I'm picturing this is they're still in April.
Yeah, you're right. I get it. But I think we can agree that Keuchel's not winning any Cy Youngs anytime soon, and Kimbrel isn't.
No. But I think that this is Keuchel, a 1.3 WHIP, 17 Ks. In 32 innings, he's not a strikeout pitcher. He's an inducing ground ball pitcher. He's a ground ball pitcher. Yeah. He's a contact pitcher. This is exactly what you would expect from Keuchel through five. I think a 3.09 ERA. I think that's decent. I think that's good enough.
Keuchel fits good on the Braves. Like he's the perfect type of pitcher for the Braves. That team's pretty deep. Maybe not in starting pitching, but overall that's a pretty good team. But the money that he was asking for is probably not worth what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, starting pitching is so shit these days, Yeah,
man.
So I guess my thing is that even though Kimbrel isn't lights out yet,
mm-hmm.
I still think that these type of players should get the contract that their numbers or their resume deserves. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like we take that out, and the game just keeps getting younger. These guys are always forever going to be paid less. Only the really good superstars, which I get it, makes sense. But then again, why would these guys bother playing baseball? Why not just go play basketball, where a guy like Timothy Moskov gets $100 million for like 5 years,
mm-hmm.
and we're talking about Timothy Moskov. You want to know who the comparison? You want to know who the equivalent of Timothy Moskov is in Major League Baseball? I would say like maybe Billy Hamilton.
Yeah.
Like, come on, man.
Yeah. Kristaps Porzingis gets a max contract.
And he's probably not going to play this year.
He doesn't even play. And who's the Dominican dude from Boston? He just signed with Philly.
Al Horford. He just got a max deal, I believe. Ben Simmons. Did you see what Ben Simmons got?
What did he get?
I think he got a max contract, it might be like 155 years or something, but the guy cannot shoot.
Mm-hmm.
He can't do the most fundamental. He can't do the most fundamental thing that the sport asks of you. And he's one of the highest paid players.
You're right. I think you're absolutely right, because you're right. This is another reason for people not to choose baseball over other sports. I think, and that's why I kind of like the NBA system where you have max players, you have the what's the contract level right beneath that. Like there's levels to your contracts. You have to spend that money. You know what I'm saying? In baseball, you don't have to spend the money if you don't want to.
Nah, look at the Rays.
Exactly.
Shit. But like
you could literally field a minor league team that fits into this formula that you've concocted for the season and win, a decent amount of games in baseball. That's what the A's have been for 20 years, 25 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's cool and everything because they're playing within the rules. It's not like they're
but it hurts the sport. Like I agree with you. I'm
does.
Cool with it too.
It hurts the sport.
But it hurts the sport. It hurts the popularity of the sport. It hurts the I don't know, the level of play that you're seeing. I always say that strikeouts don't matter, but I understand why people get frustrated when they see people striking out, because a strikeout is something anybody can do. I can strike out. You know what I mean? I could go up against a big league team and strike out. Like, I want to see these guys do extraordinary things. And the thing with baseball is that there's a few players, more than a handful of players, that do extraordinary things. But then you have players who, like Joey Gallo prior to this season, who was a home run or nothing. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I want to see. I also want to see some skills. Like, I was thinking about this during the All-Star break. I don't know if you see this on social media. Sometimes they put the Korean All-Star break, the skills competitions that they
like
do.
the bunting stuff.
I
like it.
They do a bunting one where they put a target on the ground and you have to bunt and try to hit the center or gain as many points as you want. There's also one where it's a hitting competition, not power hitting, but they have like targets on the field that are worth different points, and you have to smack the ball and try to hit each target to gain as many points as you want. Like, that's, even though that's small ball or whatever, it's exciting too, and it's an important aspect of the game as well. I feel like the game is turning into the Yankees, which is, this year not so much. They're not just a home run hitting team, but the Yankees of last year, that it was home run or bust. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. And I would like to see Clayton Kershaw get up there and like pinpoint the baseball 100 yards away and be the only one that can hit a target. Or maybe don't have Trout participate in the home run derby, but let him take BP in front of a full stadium. Let him smack some home runs around, a little bit. I don't know, but it's like we were saying, like, why is what appeals the youth to try their all? I mean, you really have to love baseball to dedicate your life to try to make it to the major leagues, man. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna sit here and say that it's more exciting than playing a pickup game of basketball. It's not easy getting 18 guys to just play a pickup game of baseball. Yeah. Basketball is really a more appealing sport to the youth. It has everything. It has sneakers, hip hop. Like, it's just a more appealing thing.
And all you need is a ball. That's it.
Yeah. All you need is a ball. There's a million hoops from here till the next baseball field that's closest to me, right? Whatever. Mm-hmm. I do like that the NBA, you do have to spend money. Like, they're forced to spend money. I like that, but I don't like that, basically you're selected to these NBA all teams by the writers, and that's pretty much what's like capping your salary.
Yeah, that's annoying. Yeah. I mean, I think that baseball should do. I think that they need to fix a couple of things, and we've talked about this one before. With minor league players, I don't think that they should be slaves to the system forever. Basically, I think it should be you're signed to a team, you're drafted, you have 3 years to make it to the big league level. If you didn't make it to the big league level in those 3 years, then you're a free agent. Some other team can sign you or whatever. At that point, you should be like automatically, or maybe 5 years. I don't know what number of years. Yeah.
No, you're right though. Like, people forget it's whatever they do in the minors. When they get to the majors, then their service time starts. Like, it's 5-6 years. That 5 years should start when they get signed
immediately.
Yeah.
And it's just 5 years. There's no, it's
a long time.
There's no 1.27 years certain. No, fuck that shit. Like, it's a year. That's it. And, once you make it to the big league level, there should be a minimum salary, which there is. Once you hit free agency, maybe you do it 3 years after you make it to the big league level. You can become an unrestricted Major League Baseball free agent or something. I don't know. Then you do levels of contracts, and teams have to spend a certain amount of dollars. There should be a salary floor in baseball. The Tampa Bay Rays, if they wanted to, let me not use the Tampa Bay Rays, the Marlins, who are clearly blowing everything up. If they wanted to, they could spend $1 million on players and just say, I'm going to field a team of 25 high school students, and that's perfectly legal in baseball.
Yeah,
that shouldn't be. You know what I mean? Every team is worth $1 billion or more in baseball. You have the money to spend, so there should be a minimum amount of dollars that you can spend. And I like, the luxury tax seems to be making teams not want to cross it, so that seems to be working. But if you want to make it harder, then do a salary cap and then start taxing teams after that or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know, guys. Some of these rules are annoying, man.
We don't know, guys. We're not GMs. We don't own baseball teams or Major League Baseball teams.
You know what the problem is?
We're just two guys.
Yeah, that's true. The problem too is it's confusing for fans too. Like, who's on the 25-man roster? Who's not on the 25-man roster? Why does this player have to get DFA'd? Why, hold on. Why is this guy DFA'd, but this guy could just be sent down? There's just too many different What's a Rule 5 draft? What's a qualifying offer? What's this?
Don't
What's that?
Don't ask me, because every year I learn what a Rule 5 draft is, and I forget. It goes right out the window because
just not that important. Just make it simple. Just simplify the game. Make it easy for everybody to understand, and that's it, man. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, man. So, I got a little emotional there. I'm sorry.
Or add another 2 teams to the Major League Baseball, man. Expand the league again.
Or lessen the season. I'm okay with. I don't need 162 games. Bring it back down to 154.
I'm good with 145.
145 is good. I'll take it.
I'm good with 145. Want to make it an even number, 146.
And if you want to expand the postseason, in that case, like they're talking about the NFL maybe moving to an 18-game season. But I think the idea is to cut the preseason short by 2 games, and I think it's to add a round to the postseason. I don't know if that's, don't quote me on that, but that's what I would do if I was baseball. I would cut down the season by a week, let's say, and
yeah, I'd be okay with that,
and add more teams to the postseason. Fuck it, the postseason, baseball post. There's nothing like baseball in the postseason. I think.
It really is amazing, and I feel like it's the reward that we get for being baseball fans. Mm-hmm. And sitting through an entire 162 game season. It really is great, man. Like you don't need your team to be in it to appreciate.
No, you can watch any playoff
baseball. Yeah, seriously. Like, but I'd be down with them adding another 2 teams like per league.
Not just that, but I feel like you're making it more difficult to win a World Series too, because I feel like in baseball more than any other sport, you can ride a hot wave through the postseason because you only have to get through 3 rounds. You only technically have to win 11 games to win a World Series. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it makes it a lot harder, and the deserving team, more than likely comes out victorious in the end. So, just here it is, guys. Let's start a movement here. I'm not good at this stuff in the moment, but you're pretty quick on your feet, CT. Okay. I want to start a movement to make us the commissioners of baseball.
And give us like the Mets. Give us the Mets.
Nah, fuck it. I want the whole league.
Oh, you want to be a commissioner? I thought you said GM. Oh, my bad.
No, commissioner.
Yeah, I'm down.
Co-commissioners. I don't know. Hashtag.
That
I don't know.
That. Hashtag Comish Cowboys.
What?
I was trying to do a play off the word of cocaine cowboys, but it sounded nicer in my head.
Ooh, gotcha.
We'll think about it. We'll get it out there.
Yeah, give us a few. We'll figure it out. The next thing I wanted to talk about, CT, we're gonna move away from baseball a little bit, and I wanted to get into the NBA because over the last couple of weeks, the NBA underwent, like, I would say, the equivalence of the, like, back in the 60s and 50s when the Cold War. That's what I'm thinking about.
Okay.
When, like, the United States and Russia were going at it and threatening each other with a nuclear strike or whatever, and kids were being taught to hide under desks just in case and all this shit. So I feel like the NBA underwent something similar to that with Kawhi Leonard not deciding where he was gonna go. People were afraid that had he gone to the Lakers, it would have just been over. That's it. The NBA is over because why even watch the season, right? They were just gonna win finals after finals after finals. His decision to go to the Clippers, though, however, created a trickle-down effect in which now we have a whole bunch of duos in the NBA. And I feel like unlike last season and every season before that, the NBA is going to see more parity than it has in a long time. Because now you have, not only that, then after that, Westbrook is traded to the Rockets. So now you have the Harden-Westbrook duo. You have Kawhi and PG-13 in LA. You have LeBron and AD. You have KD and Kawhi. You have the duo out in Portland. There's a lot of teams that I feel like could compete this season. No,
yeah, you're right.
So
and go ahead.
No, you go.
I was gonna say, as great as the Lakers sound with LeBron and AD being like top 5 player in the NBA, LeBron being like the best player in the NBA, I keep reading that they don't have that much depth. So, I mean, something's got to give. LeBron can't play 48 minutes. Like,
no. And the thing with the NBA is that if LeBron and AD can stay healthy, they're gonna be fine. You know, but yes,
they're going to the playoffs.
Yeah, if LeBron gets hurt again like he did last season, it could be a disaster for sure. But all of these duos reminds me of a game, CT. Have you ever played this game on your Super Nintendo?
Boom shakalaka!
You recognize that sound?
I wasn't expecting that. I'm like, yeah, how did you get your voice to sound so...
Excuse me!
Where's that from?
NBA Jam, man. Remember that game?
NBA Jam. I played NBA Street.
You never played NBA Jam, CT?
Maybe.
Here it comes!
Are you kidding me?
Nah, I mean, I'm pretty sure I've played it. Like, if you had it those times I was at your house, I'm pretty sure I played it. But
I love it when you call me Big Papa.
What the hell?
So NBA Jam was like my favorite NBA game aside from NBA Live. I remember when NBA Live 95 came out on the Super Nintendo. That shit was the bomb. But NBA Jam was like the arcade version of basketball games, and it was a duo game. It was like the Knicks had Patrick Ewing and John Starks.
It was just strictly duos.
It was just strictly duos. The Magic had Shaquille O'Neal and Anthony Hardaway or whatever. And the announcer used to say crazy ass shit, so you used to just like try to make as many crazy moves as you can, so you can hear things like,
"Well, blow me over,"
stuff like that, or
"Here it comes."
How long did it take you to get all these sound bites?
Boom shakalaka!
No, man, there's a soundboard online for this, so I'm using that.
But you know what? That boom shakalaka thing does sound like so familiar, that directly from that guy's voice. Like I've definitely heard it before. So either I played it when I was a kid or I played it in an arcade somewhere recently.
Yeah, they have the arcade for it, and I know I had it in my house. So if you came to my house as a kid, you probably played it there. And there's a phone game for it. I used to play it on my iPhone on the train on my way to work and stuff every day. Yeah, man. So that's what it reminds me of. It reminds me of NBA Jam, all these duos. I feel like the NBA is just filled with duos. And of course, my Knicks aren't a part of it, but whatever. At least we have some parity. Like, who do you think is going to win the finals next year? If I had asked you the same question last year, you would immediately say that it would probably be the Golden State Warriors. This year, you can't say that anymore.
No, definitively, I can't say. I think the Nets are out of it because Durant's probably not playing this year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why. I mean, LeBron's supposed to be the starting point guard.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I have a feeling with DeMarcus Cousins and Anthony Davis on that team, it's not going to be as easy for LeBron to just do what he does. Kind of. I don't know. I'm going to see some sort of like rift between them, especially because I think Boogie Cousins is kind of like a cancer.
Yeah.
And with the Rockets, I'll get to the Rockets in a second. I guess if I had to choose a team right now, it'd be between like the Clippers or the Nuggets.
Yeah, and I also didn't mention Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson are gonna reunite. Klay Thompson had I think it's the ACL injury, so he'll probably be out for a lot of the season, but he should be back by the second half at some point. So that's another duo.
That's probably one of them. That's probably the most deadliest. I mean, I think the duo of because I don't think LeBron plays defense like that anymore. I think Paul George, who was like a beast two-way player last year, Kawhi Leonard, like the ultimate two-way player. I think they're gonna be like they're the scariest duo. But Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, man, like all they got to do is and I'm reading that they're gonna keep D'Angelo Russell now. So. That was like an all-star emerging last year.
He's a good player, D'Angelo Russell.
He is. I actually kind of thought he was. I actually think like he might be one of those guys that signs like a big contract and just kind of fades away.
Yeah. But with the Warriors, he doesn't have to be the number one guy. He could just
no, you're right.
Fit a part of the puzzle. That's what's so great about that organization. They still have Draymond Green. They lost Boogie Cousins, but I mean he didn't really play that much last season anyway.
Yes. So real quick, man, I think the Rockets, I don't know. I think that might be one of the dumbest trades it's exciting because Russell Westbrook is like this triple double guy that, you know, he's one of the league superstars. He's explosive, and James Harden averages like 50 points a game and all that stuff. It's exciting, but I mean, it's obvious that I really don't think it's going to work out. And also, what the hell are they going to do with Russell Westbrook? He signed till 2023, owed $47 million that last year. Like, what the hell are they supposed to do with him when the Rockets are getting bounced out of the first round every year? Because they're going to make the playoffs with those two guys. They're going to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
I just don't see how they can work together, especially every time I see the Rockets, they're just chucking up threes, and Russell Westbrook sucks at shooting threes.
Yeah.
But back to the money. Like, how are they going to get rid of Russell Westbrook when he's on the decline at the age of 32, 33, and he's owed almost $50 million? Like,
so the reason why I like the move is because CP3, who seems like he was a cancer in that team, gets booted out. I kind of feel bad for him a little bit because now he's the only guy in Oklahoma City. They're not going anywhere anymore. But anyway, he's 35 years old. So you just got younger at the point guard position by 5 years. So, and Russell Westbrook, as much as he gets killed in the NBA, I think that he's one of the best players in the league. I think that they're gonna have to figure something out. They have to figure it out, because if they're ever gonna want to win a championship, and if those two players can figure out how to play together, if Russell Westbrook can learn how to distribute the ball more, which he can distribute. He was a triple double, a walking triple double last season.
stat patter.
What?
He was a stat patter.
Oh yeah. He did too. That's true. But if they can learn how to play together and learn their role a little bit more as they mature or whatever, that might be the deadliest duo out of all of these. Don't you think?
I mean, nah, man, I don't see it. I've seen way too many Thunder games where Russell Westbrook, the right thing to do would be like to drain the clock out or pass it to your best scorer or something. And all this guy does is chuck up a three to try to be the hero or try to force an offensive play where there isn't one. When he wants an assist, he'll pass up the ball. If he has his 10 assists, he's not going to pass the ball up. He doesn't do it. And what is it going to be like when James Harden is doing his thing where he never passes the ball? He's like the modern day Kobe with a bunch of like, I don't know. He just knows how to work the fouls to his favor, right?
Yeah.
But what is that going to be like when, you know, with those two guys? I think it's going to be a disaster.
We'll
I
see.
see it being a disaster.
We shall see. But no, I agree with you that Kawhi and PG-13 are the ones to beat for sure. I think LeBron maybe has one more run in him. Something tells me that LeBron won't be around much longer in the NBA. If he can get himself one more chip, I'd be happy because I love LeBron James. But I think Kawhi and Paul George are the duo to beat for sure. I agree with you.
No, yeah, I would never count LeBron out, but the West, like you said, the West just got a lot tougher.
It's insane, the West, man.
And those are regular season games that LeBron's going to have to play near that playoff level that he usually reserves for the playoffs, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, I don't know, man. It's going to be interesting, though. I'll be watching.
Yeah. So
for show.
Exactly. I went from threatening to not watch anymore because I had a feeling that Kawhi was going to go to the Lakers, to now I'm very interested again. The NBA keeps doing the right thing over and over again, man.
Yeah, honestly, man, like, it annoys me because I've told you before how I feel about all this, like, all these stories with the NBA, like LeBron's not going to wear the number 23 anymore. Like, look at what Kyrie Irving did when he had to wear the mask. Like, Kyrie Irving mask guy. Like, look at him. Like, whatever. But how do you feel about the Knicks? Honestly, like, do you just want to forget about them till next season, or because
I'm pissed, man. If I wasn't a loyal fan of my teams, even though I haven't followed the Knicks loyally since probably the early 2000s or something like that, I would abandon that team in a heartbeat because
they fucked up.
They didn't just fuck up. They couldn't even land a meeting with KD, and they canceled their meeting with Kawhi because he wasn't going to go there. Players don't want to play in New York. They don't, or not New York. They don't want to play for the Knicks.
Yeah.
And that's frustrating to be a fan of an organization. The Knicks are the equivalent of what in baseball? The Marlins, I think, at this point.
I mean, the Marlins won it in 03 and 98, right?
in terms of where players want to play in baseball, like.
Oh, where they want to play. That's tough, man, because there's so many teams. Like, what do people want to play for the Reds besides Joey Votto? Like, I don't know.
Okay, they're less than that. The Knicks,
Yeah,
less than that. They had fucking LeBron snuffed them when he did that whole fucking tour. And he did his press conference in Greenwich, which is like the same town where the Knicks practice. He had everybody thinking he was going to the Knicks. And he said no. He went to Miami. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just had Kawhi Leonard, Kyrie Irving. You just had KD hit free agency, and more than that, Klay Thompson. You had a whole bunch of players hit free agency, and not one of them wanted to come to New York. Not one.
It's funny. It's just funny because when I listen to sports radio, which I'm getting super sick of these days, because they just talk about the same shit every day, and it's always like football related and everything, but when they do talk about basketball, you get some Knicks fans calling in, and they're just like, they'll call him like Joe Beninga or something. Be like, Joe, like if they can just get one veteran guy to show them, like, give them some relevancy.
Bro. Let me tell you something about the Knicks, bro.
Yeah, that guy, man. That guy's gonna catch a heart attack.
Yeah, for real.
But it just, it's funny how, like, I don't think I've ever seen a team as bad as the Knicks have fans that are so optimistic. After everything that's happened, like,
I'm just about I'm almost done with the Knicks. I've never left the team. I've never abandoned one of my teams before. Well, I'm close to it with the Knicks.
Well, you're at least invested at least minimum 3 years now. See what happens with RJ Barrett and all this.
Yeah, I think RJ Barrett is going to pan out, but I'm okay with the signings that they did this offseason because they weren't long term. They'll be free to sign players, in a couple of years again when hopefully some other guys become available or whatever. But I don't have faith in this team. There was a moment when the Knicks had it wasn't Tyson Chandler. I can't remember. They traded all these guys out to the Nuggets to get Carmelo, and they were exciting. They had Jeremy Lin. They had the white dude. What the fuck is his name? Fuck. Lee, David Lee. They had
Stoudemire?
They had Stoudemire. They were winning some games. I think they made it to did they make it to the postseason once? I don't remember.
Yeah, they did. They did.
But they were showing some signs of hope, and then they traded all these guys away for Carmelo. I was excited about it, but the whole idea about getting Carmelo was that they were going to be the next big three. Not the next big three. They were going to be. Yeah, they were going to be the next big three. CP3 was going to come and all this shit or whatever, and none of it ever panned out. Why? Because people don't want to play, for the Knicks. And I think it's Jim Dolan. And the thing is, a lot of people, I sometimes I listen to New York sports radio too out here in Pennsylvania, but I can only get it the next day. Don LaGreca announces a lot of Rangers games, and he talks about how hockey players want to play for the Rangers because they've been successful over the past decade or whatever. Before that, people were trashing Sather and Jim Dolan for the Rangers because they couldn't even sniff a postseason run. Now all of a sudden they become, by the grace of God, they get fucking King Henry or whatever the fuck his name is, Henrik Lundqvist, and a whole bunch of these other guys.
You watch hockey?
I used to watch a little bit, not too much.
Oh man,
I went to a live game and I got into it. Live hockey is the shit. You should go to a game. It's fun. And then all of a sudden players want to play the Knicks. The Knicks aren't gonna get that as long as Jim Dolan has his fucking hands on this shit, and he still has Steve Mills, who, by the way, is the common factor in this whole fucking situation. Steve Mills has been there since Isaiah. This shit is not going to get better. He needs to sell the Knicks or get rid of Steve Mills. I don't know. Get rid of everybody, sell the Knicks, and just fucking start all over again.
Yeah, it doesn't seem in other sports, like we've seen the Astros come back from being the worst team to the best team, right? Mm-hmm. In football, like the Browns are relevant. Coming into last year, they were relevant. They got Baker Mayfield. Now this year, they have one of the nicer rosters, right? But in basketball, because these players get to dictate where they want to go, I just really don't see when a team like the Knicks are going to get out of it. Like they really have to hit on every draft pick from here to like 2025.
The Nets rebuilt their franchise quicker than the Knicks did, and when the Nets traded away their entire fucking franchise and every draft pick under the sun for Kevin Garnett, and I don't even remember who the other guys were. People thought the Nets were fucked, that it was going to be years before the Nets could compete again. They made it fashionable for they made it attractive for players to want to come and play in Brooklyn by not just completely tanking one season last year or whatever. And now they have KD and Kyrie. And next year, if KD can play at the level that he was currently playing at, they're definitely the front runners in the East. You know what I'm saying?
Like, oh yeah, definitely.
There's no question. So
yeah,
I don't know. The Knicks have to do something.
That was a good example right there. The Nets went from, I remember just ripping the Nets for every year I saw the Celtics picking like in the top 3. I was like,
yep.
where they got all these picks from is the Nets.
Now look at them.
Yeah.
And they're about to sell to the fucking the Chinese Amazon, the guy who's like the equivalent of Jeff Bezos in China or whatever the fuck. So he's gonna, he's gonna spend money. He's not gonna be afraid to spend money on shit.
Wait, they're gonna sell the franchise to him?
Apparently, yeah, they're gonna sell it.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
Mm-hmm.
Damn.
So, fuck the Knicks, man. Fuck the Knicks. Who am I gonna root for this year? Let me think about this. Maybe I'll be. I like Kawhi, so I might be a Clippers fan this year. Okay. But I also like LeBron. I want LeBron to get one more championship under his belt.
Ooh, the Lakers though, man.
Yeah, it's the Lakers. I don't know if I could do that.
I'm
gonna go Kawhi. Fuck it. I'm gonna go Clippers.
I mean, I've always been a Hawks fan, so.
Wow.
Trae Young.
Okay. Before we started recording, I said that I wanted to play something and just get your take on it really quick. This is political, CT, so things could get heated here. I don't know what your take is going to be or whatever. But yesterday, Donald Trump, saying his name makes me sick. But anyway, he put out a tweet talking about these 4 congresswomen who I guess have been a little bit critical or whatever, saying that they should go back to their countries. Mind you, 3 out of 4 of these women were born in the United States, and the other one is an American citizen or whatever. So he said to them, go back to your country, fix your country's problems first, and then come here and, whatever the fuck. So a lot of people went out there calling him racist. I did too, because to me, you're telling people to get out of the country because they don't fit your description or whatever. To me, that seems racist to me. I don't know. But anyway, today he doubled down and he had this to say. I want to play the sound and then I want to get your take on this.
If you're not happy here, then you can leave. As far as I'm concerned, if you hate our country, if you're not happy here, you can leave. And that's what I say all the time. That's what I said in a tweet, which I guess some people think is controversial. A lot of people love it, by the way. A lot of people love it. But if you're not happy in the U.S., if you're complaining all the time, very simply, you can leave. You can leave right now. Come back if you want. Don't come back. It's okay, too. But if you're not happy, you can leave.
So I want to get your take on it. Do you think that, is that does that represent America? You complain all the time, then you can leave. You don't like what's going on here, you can leave. Is that America to you?
Man, put me on the spot here. Is that America to me? It sounds like it in 2019. Yeah. I do think that people all over the world, America's put under the microscope, or we're on this pedestal because we're America. And I know people that aren't from America that I speak to, and they talk about America like we're some sort of drama series, and they're scared to do certain things and they question certain things. I work with this, and I hope she never hears this, but I work with this Indian girl who's lived here for 5 years, and she's freaked out about all this shit that's going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of tell her, and she tells me stories about India, which I don't want to get into that, but I just feel like every country in this world has racism and has a bunch of issues. And I think I was fortunate enough to grow up in an environment where I'm blessed. I was blessed to grow up the way I grew up. I feel like I wouldn't have gotten that anywhere else, or I can't imagine that this is what life would have been like back in DR or in the majority of the countries in the world. I think America is still a good country, and I do think that people are just still pissed off that Trump became president. I honestly think that a majority of the reason why there's still a lot of, or why nothing is getting done, is because he got elected. Not because of what he's trying to do, but because he got elected. But I'm also very, very, very not. I haven't brushed up on all of these politic things. Like I said, I'm starting to. I've been watching a lot of videos that are kind of unbiased, so that I don't. My opinion just doesn't come out of like one particular video that I saw that was leaned towards a certain way.
Right.
Go ahead, man. Just take it away. Just say what you got to say, man. Make me feel like shit for
no.
Not agree. I don't agree with Trump. I don't think like it's all right to just tell people that are from here to just go away. But I also think that he's a guy that says things differently. Like, I mean, I feel like all our presidents leading up to Trump were closeted like scam artists in a way. Like they campaign a certain way to your face. They get your votes, and then they don't follow through when they're in office. Whereas Trump just kind of he hasn't big enough balls to. He's the president. He says whatever the hell he wants. I don't know. It's a different way, but it's still the same shit.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think a lot of people don't like what he does just because he is Donald Trump. But by the same token, there's a lot of things that he has done that he's followed through on his promises. And these are some of the promises. The promises that he's followed through on are the ones that people like me were very critical of and afraid of, like his immigration policies. Like, that scares me, that you have children locked up in cages, that you have men and women locked up, crammed in cages, without toothpaste, without soap, without beds. They're sleeping on concrete floors for months at a time. That scares me. The things that he hasn't followed through on, like bringing jobs back to America. Yes, there's an increase in jobs, but pay isn't going up. Factories are still going overseas or down to Mexico. The middleman, the guy who built this country, the guy in the Ford factory and all this shit, he's still getting screwed under Trump. So that's one aspect that I don't like. But that's not even what I want to talk about. But to sit there and say that if you don't like our policies or if you don't like what we're about, then you can leave. To me, I say fuck you, because if that's how this country is gonna operate, then let's go back in history. What if African Americans during the Civil Rights era who were denied food at a counter just because they were black would have said, I don't like it, I'm leaving? That, then how do we get change in this country? You know what I'm saying? Like, we needed those people to disobey and to break the law and to demonstrate that they're wrong. You know what I'm saying? In order for us to get changes. And that's happened throughout history. It's not just African American people, even with workers. I'm doing some history now, CT. Before the Triangle Shirtwaist Fire back in the early 1900s, CT.
What the man?
Yeah, exactly.
What is that?
Children were allowed to work like an insane amount of hours without breaks and shit like that. Like, we were China back in the day. And then all of a sudden, people were working in this factory in New York City, the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory. It's that triangular building in downtown New York. And there was a fire. But the way the employers worked is that they locked these people in these rooms, so they were trapped in there, and a whole bunch of people died. And that's how unions basically came into power, and workers started to fight for workers' rights and shit like that. They made a minimum age for working, a minimum wage, so on and so forth. If people had just said, I don't like this, I'm leaving, we would never have those changes. Like, there's just numerous examples of how this country is what it is because of people who, when they don't like something, they speak up. That's what this country is all about. You know what I'm saying? That's what it is. That's what makes this country so great, is that I can stand here, I can sit here and talk shit about it and talk about all the shit that's wrong about it, and nothing's going to happen to me. But I can't do this in China. I can't do this in Venezuela. I can't do this in Cuba. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, but I think that's what I was trying to say. Like, he said those words. Why are we getting so mad about it?
What makes me mad about it is that time and again he takes these stances that demonstrate who he is as a person, and then when you call him out on it, you get 40% of the population down your throat making excuses for him.
And I know, and I'm not trying to take a side on his side or the Democrat side or whatever the hell political parties are these days. But as many times as I've seen Donald Trump take a stand, I've seen millions of people take a stand against him of making claims as like he is a racist, he's sexist, he's this and that. I honestly cannot find one time that he ripped a black guy for being a black guy, or like he denied a black guy or a Native American or a Latino something because they're a certain way. Like, it's just his claims sound racist.
How about when he asked for Obama's transcripts because he couldn't believe that he went to Harvard and was in the Harvard Review, or when he asked for Obama's papers because he's not an American citizen? Or
but why is that
because he's only saying that because Obama's black. That's the only he's not sitting there and asking Hillary Clinton what her GPA was or if she's an American citizen. Why hasn't he apologized for putting out that one-page ad when those 5 kids were thrown in prison wrongfully? The Central Park 5, the exonerated 5, which
I didn't watch that, by the way. My bad.
You got to watch that. In the late 80s, early 90s, he put out a one-page ad that these kids should be put to death. Children, 14, 15 years old. He hasn't recanted on that. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of examples. Why is it that when there were protesters in Charlottesville, a white supremacist runs over a crowd of people and kills a whole bunch of people at a fucking, I'm going to call it a Klan rally, and he goes up there and he talks about how there's blame on both sides. Like, no, there's not blame on both sides. Like, there's a right or a wrong here. You know what I'm saying? Like, these guys are you know what I'm saying? Like, the thing is that I don't know if I believe that he is a racist, but I think that he understands that a lot of his voters are. That might be controversial. I don't know.
That's a good point that you made right there.
And he is playing up to that base.
He knows that a big reason he got voted to president was because there are a bunch of racist white people here that wanted to see him there because he opposed what we previously had, which was the black president Barack Obama. But I see the same shit. Literally, I understand there's a race problem in America, but if you're from the outside looking in, you would think that we're literally going through the same slavery. We're going through slavery all over again, and that anybody that's not white is getting gunned down in the street on any given day, whatever. I understand that is a problem in this country, but again, every country has a racism problem, and you can't tell me the Democrat Party hasn't used that to their advantage to get the black people vote. And I found out that 90% of African American votes are for Democrats. How is that possible?
I agree 100%. And
so I think so. I'm gonna.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I think that I don't identify as a Democrat because I don't agree with a lot of their policies either. Like the 3 strikes you're out policy that happened under Clinton. You know what I'm saying? Like you get caught 3 times, you're going to jail for life. So a guy walking around with a veil of crack, which is cheaper than cocaine, can end up in prison for carrying crack for life, whereas a Wall Street yuppie who has millions of dollars can walk around with a way more expensive drug than cocaine, and he's probably not even going to get stopped for it.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
No, I think
we see policies like there's statistics that come out, and certain people that listen to us are going to probably get pissed off at me at this, but that's
why we left it for the end.
Yeah, like police officers stop black people way more at a higher rate, not just black people, Latinos too, at a way higher rate than they do white people. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
it's stuff like this country definitely the vast majority of people in prisons are black, and studies have shown that they commit crimes at the same rate as white people do, but they get harder sentences. They're in there for longer.
Yeah.
Like there's definitely a race problem in this country for sure. There's a race problem in other countries, but what makes our country so great is that we could talk about these issues and try to do something about it. But the problem is, I'm sorry to keep cutting you off. The problem is that we've become so numb to this shit, to these politicians promising one thing and then delivering on another thing, or not following through on their promises, or taking money from big corporations and just screwing over the little guy over and over and over again, that people stop voting, and that's how you take the power away from the people, because that's how you take their voice away. You know what I'm saying?
So that's why I kind of want to go back to what I was getting at before. If Trump spoke like Obama did, what would be the difference between what he's doing now and what every politician has done before? I honestly think that the only reason people are pissed off is because he's doing shit that other politicians have done in the past, except he's throwing it in your face through a tweet.
He's done nothing different, except that some of the policies, in my opinion, that he's putting forward are super dangerous. Like when you're seeing, again, I keep bringing this one up because to me this is the biggest issue that nobody's talking about. Like, if you listen to podcasts like I do, you hear about it, or if you read the news online in certain locations, you'll hear about it. But if you turn on your local news on Channel 4, let's say in the morning, you don't hear about the children that are locked up in cages at the border. Like, that's some fucking Nazi Germany type shit, in my opinion.
Okay, but let's talk about that for like 5 minutes, because honestly, I need to myself do more research, and I'm gonna start doing more research because there is an election coming up, and this time I want to make that fucking vote count. All right,
good man.
Do you already know who you're voting for?
For the presidency.
Well, how does it work? You got to vote for like two or something?
Yeah, the primaries. So the reason why I'm a registered Democrat is because the United States is pretty much just a two-party system. Like, it's either going to be a Democrat or a Republican.
That's some bullshit.
The reason why I registered Democrat is because I want to be able to vote in the primaries. If you're registered independent, let's say, for example, you don't have a say in who becomes the candidate for president of the United States. Does that make sense? So
it does make sense. So,
had I registered independent last year, I wouldn't be able to go and vote in the Democratic primaries, or I wouldn't be able to vote in the Republican primaries. So I could only vote for my independent candidate. You know what I'm saying?
So, okay. So if you register as an independent, you can go vote in a primary, but only for the independent.
No. So because the candidates are typically only independent or only Democratic or Republican, there's going to come a point where this field of like 20 candidates in the Democratic Party is going to come down to like two people. So it might end up being Joe Biden and Elizabeth Warren, let's say. So then they hold primary votes for the people to decide who they want to be their nominee. So you would go and vote for one of those two people in your party. If you're registered independent, you're not allowed to go vote for one of those two people. Or if you're registered Republican, you're not allowed to go vote for one of those two people.
Well, do you already know who you're voting for in the primary?
So so far, I really like Elizabeth Warren. That's who I want to be the nominee.
So is she the one the other day that said Trump wants to make America white again? Was that her or was that Nancy Pelosi?
That was Nancy Pelosi.
Okay, never mind. I was going to say something about that. But I don't want to spend too much time on this because I don't want to get into a debate with an expert when I barely know my shit.
I'm not an expert, man.
Well, you definitely know way more than I do. So in this conversation, you're the expert. With those kids in cages, what's the alternative?
The alternative is you allow people to seek asylum, or you send them back, but you don't lock them up in cages. Like,
well, but aren't a lot of these kids getting there with people that aren't their parents?
They're getting there with aunts and uncles, sometimes their parents, sometimes a friend.
But how do we verify that they're actually friends, or that they're aunts and parents, or aunts and uncles and stuff? How can we prove that that's what it is? Because it sounds like to me, and I'm not trying to choose sides, but it sounds like to me that that's a really big useful tool for me to use if I'm someone trying to get into a country and I bring a kid with me, to look more appealing to why I should be allowed into this country. If you're telling me it's friends, aunts, and uncles.
The way it used to work is you could come into the border, seek asylum, and they
wait trial here inside.
And they let you
USA.
in, and they await trial here. What they're doing now is what Trump is trying to do is that and a lot of these people, I forget what the numbers are, but they're rarely Mexican. Like the vast majority are from Guatemala. Places in Central and South America, even Brazil, are trying to get in and seek asylum. They're saying that if you cross another country before ours, you have to seek asylum there first. So like in Guatemala, if they have to cross Mexico to get to the United States, they have to seek asylum in Mexico first. Does that make sense?
Okay, that seems like just another way to. God, man, the Red Sox are ripping it today. Let's go. Sorry, that just seems like a way to kind of prolong the process, right?
Yeah, and the thing is that the United States is built upon the ideals that we do let people in, because this is the land of opportunity. So why all of a sudden are we?
But you know what?
It would have been harder for our parents to make it here. You know what I'm saying?
I understand that. I understand that, right? But back to all these people being in cages. You're saying that we are imprisoning them and keeping them there, or that they don't want to go back to the country? The other option is they're
being detained until their court hearing, so they could be detained.
But I thought
there's such
that
a backlog because there's so many issues in South America, that there's such a backlog in our system that all these people are just sitting around and waiting. They could wait. So
tell me,
a month. They could wait 2 months, 4 months, 5 months.
So there's such a backlog with all the issues that are happening in other countries. You agree that we do have an abundance of people trying to come in here? Like that's at least a problem. Do you see that as a problem?
That's a fact for sure. Yes.
Okay. Now,
but I don't think it's a crisis of people trying to come in to take our jobs, to kill our babies.
No.
I think it's a humanitarian crisis, and I think that there's enough room and there's enough money in this country and people that we can help. And you determine the way that we have in the past. They let them in, and if you determine that they're not eligible to stay in the country, then you kick them out later on. Obama was the deporter in chief. That's what he did. He never separated these families. You know what I'm saying? Like,
he never separated them. But don't we have more coming now than when he was in office?
There's more coming now seeking asylum from other countries. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So
and people have determined that most illegal immigrants in this country come by airplane. They come as a tourist and they stay. They never leave.
Well, what other country can you do that at? And I understand that we're America and we're built differently. But remember how we were talking about the right to bear arms and how that law was set like 300 years ago or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't this along the same thing? We were that country that allowed all walks of life to come in, but that was hundreds of years ago. I mean, I honestly think the same way that we're trying to turn back the time with gun laws, and I'm no expert at this shit. I'm just speaking. I'm speaking freely right now, and this is a freestyle off the dome, off the top. Word. Hot 16. But don't you think that this all these immigration laws fits in that category of something that we have to kind of rethink? Because
I agree.
Since then we've been bombed, 9/11 and all that stuff.
I think something has to change for sure. You can't just let
I'm not saying
anybody and their sister and mother and cousins and everybody to just come in willy-nilly whenever the fuck they feel like it. Yada, yada, yada. I understand that. I agree with that. I just don't like the way we're going about, currently the way we're going about dealing with the issue. The way we're going about it is that we're pigeonholing every single one of these people. The way he talks about these people is that they're rapists, they're gangsters, they're killers, they're this, they're that. He doesn't say these are people who are coming from war-torn countries or countries that we went in the 80s with Reagan and shit and fucked up their fucking governments and shit, and they're in constant turmoil, and they want a reprieve in a safe country where for many years we just welcomed them with open arms. Now all of a sudden they're public enemy number one, and not just that, we are just locking them up. And when we lock them up, we're not giving them the resources that they need to stay safe or sanitary. Like we heard that clip a couple weeks ago. Like, if we're gonna throw these people in cages, at least give them fucking toothpaste. Like, come on, man. Like,
yeah, but I thought about that. And we're throwing them in cages and all this stuff, and we're not giving. That is a fucked up thing. But you know what's even more fucked up? That we have all these homeless veterans all over the country.
Yeah,
like that's a real issue as well. So I understand when someone, a conservative or whatever these people are that support Trump, are angry, that people are angry that we're not, spoon feeding these people in cages, because at the same time we have our own issues in this country. So we're like, basically we're inheriting other countries' issues, but we can't even fix like our own issues. And I
100% agree with you on that. And then my response to that is, then we need to think twice about how we distribute the money in this country, because we just throw billions and trillions of dollars to the richest Americans, and you have, like you said, homeless veterans, or you have kids at the border who are in serious crisis, or you have there's crises all over this country, and kids in debt. You graduate from college in a crazy amount of debt. You can't go to the doctors because you can't afford health insurance. But then then you're okay to give trillions of dollars to the richest Americans so that they don't have to pay taxes or whatever. That shit just doesn't make sense to me.
No, you're right. But once again, what's different? This is my thing. Like, I understand we shouldn't be spending trillions of dollars in our military when we're the cause of half this shit, whatever. But this wasn't something that Trump did when he got into office. Like, this has been going on. Yeah. So that's why I kind of go back to a lot of the reasons I'm hearing Trump is this and that. It just seems like people are pissed off because he got elected. It's not, or because the way he is, the way he talks about certain things. I understand he says a lot of fucked up shit that a president shouldn't say, because we are America. I'd rather have a guy like Barack Obama who could smooth things over internationally, and he actually did good. Or the one thing I could tell you Trump did that was stupid was that he took us out of that treaty with the
with
I
Iran.
forgot what it was. It was all that stuff. Yeah, that was stupid. He has
the Trump tax code that gave a big tax break to the rich, and studies have shown that it hasn't done anything for the economy.
Okay.
There's a lot that he's done that and there's a lot that Obama did too. Like I don't want people to think that I'm sitting here just acting like Obama was the second coming of Christ. There's a lot of people that he killed, innocent people, with drone strikes. There's the imprisoning of, the fuck is her name? One of the whistleblowers. It's a trans woman. There's Snowden, who's hiding in Russia. There's the WikiLeaks guy. Like, this is like that's an offense against the press right there. That's freedom of the press. Like, we're trying to figure out what's going on in the government. These people are trying to be transparent, and we're throwing them in jail. There's a lot of stuff that Obama did too that I don't agree with. You know what I mean?
No, yeah, I get it, and that's why I think that Obama was, like, on paper, the way he spoke, the way he carried himself, he was great. Mm-hmm. If Trump was like that, I really don't think we'd have it wouldn't be like it is today. I really don't think it would be, like, from what I've seen. But I think that's why people have a problem with it, because this version of Trump that we're seeing right now. This isn't a new this is who he's always been. He's always been a 3-card Monty, hustler. Like, he used to hire people and not pay them. He used to buy buildings, make them go bankrupt, take advantage of the tax code. And he's not the only one, by the way. There's a lot of people in this country that are like that, but we're not voting them in to become president. The difference with Trump and everybody else is that he got fucking The Apprentice, became a reality star, and he became like a face that everybody could see. He got a voice. He got, he got millions of followers on social media, and he became this fucking bootleg deal maker, which history has shown that he's not even a good deal maker. No, he
lost, I don't know how many, I think $1 billion or some shit over his life. Something like that.
I heard that episode on the Daily. I'm caught up.
Yeah,
but let me look. I clearly don't want to act like I know what I'm talking about. I've just went on a binge watching spree of YouTube the last couple of days with some good debates that were unbiased, or they not unbiased, but they had both sides speaking, both got their turns, whatever. People like you and me, like Spanish people, black people, white people, whatever. Here's a topic that I want us to talk about probably next time, so this episode doesn't get too long.
Yeah.
But this whole thing with having the the census, with having the question of being a U.S. citizen or not on the census, what do immigrants? How do immigrants impact our voting power? Like we're in the state that they're in. How do they impact that?
So the problem with the census question, I can't answer. I don't know exactly why an illegal person here illegally answering a question on the census would affect voting, because they can't vote. They don't have papers. They can't vote.
No, but it shows that we have. It shows that we have. Let's say there's 2 million people in this state. 1 million is immigrants. The census sees it as 2 million people in that state. Doesn't that give us like more electoral votes or something? I don't know. It
helps you to draw lines for gerrymandering. So where I live right now,
another term I do not know.
Yeah, gerrymandering is a fucking joke, and both sides do it. So if a Democrat sits there and tells you gerrymandering is a problem, they're rigging the system. Yes, they're rigging the system because they're in power. But when we were in power, we did it too. We just didn't do it. So this is the difference between the Republican Party and the Democratic Party is that the Republican Party has goals, and they do whatever the fuck they need to do to meet those goals. So if that means lock kids in cages, take away your health insurance, cut taxes for this guy, cut taxes for that guy, but I'm going to get what my goal is in the long run, then fuck it, I'm doing it. With Democrats, and I don't know which side is right or wrong in this issue, because I kind of wish that Democrats were a little bit more like Republicans sometimes. With Democrats, it's I want to achieve this goal, but I don't want to hurt this person's feeling. I don't want to say the wrong thing here. I don't want to do this, that, this. I want to seem like I work across the aisle, this, whatever. No, fucking go and fucking do what you need to do to reach that goal, as long as it's within the rules. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
With gerrymandering, Democrats did it at a lesser scale. With Republicans, like if you look at the Pennsylvania voting map, like where I live right now, it's confusing as fuck. Like, I live in Lidditz, Pennsylvania, which is a part of Manheim Township. That's our county, I guess. No, we're in Lancaster County. So I live in Lidditz, Pennsylvania, which is a part of Manheim Township, which is located in Lancaster County. But there's a town called Manheim. And yeah, I don't even know how to describe it. And that's all gerrymandered so that Republicans can get a larger amount of vote for each county. Does that make sense? Like they redraw the maps. They redraw the maps and see this
based
is
off
this
the
is, right. So the map doesn't even have to be like a square, like a doesn't even have to make sense. It could be like a crazy ass based off the census. They use the census to determine this. Yeah.
So, I mean, do you think that if Trump is against immigrants and all the immigrants didn't have to answer that they were U.S. citizens, do you think that would affect mapping? What was it the word they used?
Gerrymandering.
Gerrymandering?
Yeah, with a G.
I don't know. I've never heard that word in my life.
Yeah.
Damn it.
It would impact the maps. What it does is it gives you a clear image, and it prevents them from redrawing the maps in a specific way. I mean, they could still do it if they wanted to, but it makes it harder for them.
They wouldn't check American citizen off of it, so we wouldn't.
Right. And the thing is that the purpose of a census is to get a sense of every person that's in the United States. It's legal or illegal. It doesn't mean that this person is gaining any kind of rights or whatever. It's just the census is supposed to be a survey of American life. You know what I'm saying? That's what it is.
I know.
So, like, if you conduct a survey, but you're leaving a whole bunch of people out of it, like, is that a real survey? Is that really capturing the essence of America? You know what I'm saying? Or not just America, of certain communities?
But if we're using that survey to impact gerrymandering, did I say it right?
Gerrymandering. Episode title right there.
See, this is why I wanted to talk about it next episode.
Yeah, man.
You want to just come back to this? You want to just put a bookmark on this?
Let's put a bookmark on this one. I think we should end this episode.
Because I got to do my research on this, because I had a point and I can't get the word Jerry Seinfeld out of my brain now because you keep saying gerrymandering.
Gerrymandering. I think it's named after somebody too. I believe it is.
Good old Jerry.
Jerry, man, you can't trust a Jerry.
So episode recap, guys. Russell Westbrook will be getting paid $50 million at the age of 33.
Wow.
Oh, that was James Harden I was looking at before. Ooh, gotta go back and edit that out.
Ouch.
Never mind.
Ouch.
No, wait a second. That was Russell Westbrook that I was like, they're both getting paid $50 million at the age of 33.
$100 million between the two of them?
Well, $47 million. I'm being,
Still, man. What the hell is the salary
that's
cap in the NBA?
crazy. I don't know, but that's going to be a disaster those last couple of years.
Well, that's their problem.
The Welcome to the Show podcast is brought to you by
Audible. Oh, I thought you were going to finish that up.
No, there used to be an ad in PBS Kids when I was a kid that it always used to be the same, and the voice was always like, PBS is brought to you by, and
viewers like you.
Drew a blank right there.
Yeah.
Good episode, man.
Yeah, man.
Pat yourself on the back.
I'm currently patting myself on the back. I'm pretty sure we talked politics for like 40 minutes. So, listeners, this is what you get now with the Welcome to the Show podcast.
That's right, guys. The Welcome to the Show podcast tipped the century mark, and we got political.
That's it. We got political. And if you don't like it, call, what was that number? 875. I don't even remember. Remember that voicemail phone number we said?
Yeah. We're going to bring that back because I have a feeling that some people out there are going to,
want to say some shit.
They're going to want to call.
They want to pop some shit. And I just want to make it clear, people. I don't care Republican or Democrat or independent. This is just my last point. I just want there's some things that I believe in. I believe that when a country is as rich as ours, that there shouldn't be people out there who are dying because they can't afford health insurance, or there shouldn't be kids graduating from college with $100,000, $200,000 in debt. That shit is fucking nonsense. Like, that shouldn't be the case. There shouldn't, like you said, there shouldn't be homeless veterans. That shit just should not exist in this country. I just feel like there's no need for it. And I feel like our values are insane right now. Like we're just aiming for those likes and the comments and shit. Like,
no, honestly, yeah. And I want people to know that I'm 28 years old. I've always voted Democrat when I had the ability to vote because my parents always voted Democrat, but that's no excuse. Like, I think I'm old enough to know this shit, and I'm going to do my best to stay right down the middle and make good decisions. And I know people listen to this that also don't pay attention to politics and are my age. So hopefully we're not going to stop. I don't think we should stop talking about this because we do have an election coming up. When is it exactly?
Well, the presidential election isn't until November of 2020.
This is actually not a bad time to talk about it then.
Yeah, right now what you're gonna see is a lot of debates. You're gonna see candidates starting to drop out. People will start to drop out probably by the next debate. And you'll see the field starting to get smaller and smaller, and then all of 2019 is gonna be, well, we are in 2019. The beginning of 2020 until November. Well, the beginning of 2020 until around the summertime, you'll see the Democratic candidates kind of beat themselves up a little bit. By the summer, you'll get your Democratic nominee, and you'll see debates between the president Donald Trump, and the Democratic nominee, and then you get your vote. So it's actually we're a year and a half away from our next big election, which is, it seems like a long time, but it happens pretty quick, and there's going to be a lot happening to help us to figure out who do we want to be our president next.
Yeah, and I'm not saying we're gonna make this show completely about politics, but I'm gonna try to at least do my research because I need to. That's it. I can't hide from it anymore. This is it, man. This is what growing up is like.
I mean, I voted Democratic my whole life too, and it's not just because of the D on it. It's just because, for example, in the last presidential election I didn't vote for. I voted for Hillary Clinton for the presidency. Not because I liked Hillary Clinton, but because I thought that she was a better suited for the job. I did not vote for Hillary in the primary, though. I never voted for Hillary prior to that presidential election. I voted for Obama in the primaries in 2008, and I voted for Bernie Sanders in the primaries in 2016. in the presidential election, I voted for her because I thought, knowing Donald Trump, having grown up in New York City, not knowing him, but having heard of him my whole entire life and what he's actually about, I knew that this guy was a con artist from the start, and I feel like a lot of people got duped by him. Has it been all bad? Like, is everything the man does terrible? I can't say that. That's not true, because like you said, he's following through on the shit that he said he was gonna do, and he's not any different than any other politician. He's just he talks more shit. That's the difference. So
he's heavy on them Twitter fingers.
Word. So we're gonna talk more politics. Maybe not as much as we did today, but we'll touch on it here and there. Maybe if CT has a question, or if we want to just have a quick, like, back and forth about a certain issue or whatever, we'll do it. But yeah.
Yeah, but blame this long ass political ending on me, because I know Manny wasn't expecting me to bring all these questions up, but honestly, in a way, it is kind of his fault. He got me listening to a certain podcast, and YouTube is a great tool too. So, yeah. But guys, don't feed into all this. Here's one thing I do know about politics: all this bashing that's gonna happen in the next couple of months between Democrats and between Republicans. Just ignore all that shit. That's what I would do.
I would just look at the issues. Forget like,
follow the paper trail.
Forget the tweets. Forget the sensational headlines on the Huffington Post or whatever the fuck. Just like focus on the person and what they're about. Like, I like Bernie Sanders because he ran a campaign on small donors, on people, and I liked his policies. I didn't like Hillary because she was taking money from corporations and from Wall Street and shit like that. I don't want, you know what I'm saying? I like Elizabeth Warren because she's running a campaign, small donations from regular people like you and me, and I like her policies. That's what I'm looking at. I don't give a fuck that she had this bout with Donald Trump about her being a Native American or not. I could care less. Like, what are you about? That's what I want to know. And that's what I look at when I look at these candidates. I don't watch MSNBC. I don't watch Fox News. I suggest people don't watch that shit either, because all you're hearing when you're watching that shit is what that person believes. And if you're going to the ballot box with someone else's opinions of a certain person, then you're not doing anybody any favors. Like, you need to keep yourself educated. You need to know what, you need to do the work like you're doing now, CT. So
yeah, I'm gonna do it, man. It's about time.
All right, I think this is long enough, man. I'm done.
Yeah, man, just cut it. Just end it, please.
I'm just gonna ask people to take 2 minutes to leave a rate, to rate and review our podcast wherever they listen to podcasts. You know the Audible trial link, audibletrial.com/welcome to the show. I'm not gonna go through the whole thing. That's all I got. CT.
Everyone, take care, and once again, sorry for this long ass episode.
Peace.
Peace.